The Vatican permanently sealed the 1582 transition records. They officially blame paper degradation, but some scholars know the truth. 10 days were taken from humanity. We don't know who took them or what they observed in that empty space. File 47 remains open. Watch the sky when the clocks stop.
My ancestor was a monk in rural France. The year was 1582. I inherited a small wooden box of his belongings, mostly prayer books, but there was a private journal. I thought it was just a historical curiosity. I mean, I'm an archivist. I handle old texts every day. But when I started translating the entries from October, things felt wrong. The ink was different, smeared, the handwriting was completely erratic, like he was shivering, or terrified. I just couldn't stop reading it. When the Pope switched to the Gregorian calendar that year, they just skipped days. October 4th was followed by the 15th. Tio fixed the math, but his journal has entries for the 5th, the 6th, all the way to the 14th. I mean, those days never happened. Legally, mathematically, they didn't exist, but he lived them. He was documenting things that occurred in the gap. My colleagues said it was a psychological breakdown, but the details, they were too specific, too clinical. The entry for the 7th, he wrote that the sun vanished. Not an eclipse. An eclipse is predictable. It has a shape. He said the sky just turned off at noon for exactly 3 hours. I checked astronomical records for that hemisphere. Nothing. But he describes the sudden drop in temperature, the way the birds just dropped from the trees, confused. My hands were shaking when I read it. He wasn't being metaphorical. He wrote that the darkness had a texture. It didn't stop there. By the 9th, he mentions the sky again, not dark this time. He calls them, well, the Latin translates roughly to geometric lights, perfect squares and triangles, just hanging silently over the monastery. No sound. No movement. He said the older monks started praying, but the abbot told them to stop immediately. The abbot said God doesn't make straight lines in the clouds. I don't know what they were looking at, but it wasn't religious. It felt mechanical. The physical environment changed. He wrote about a persistent low hum, like a vibration in the stone floors. It made their teeth ache. I mean, he specifically wrote about the water in the basin vibrating into strange patterns, cymatics. But they didn't have a word for that back then. He said the air tasted like burnt metal. You can't hallucinate that kind of collective sensory detail. They were trapped inside a pocket of time, and something was experimenting on them. Then the 11th, he mentions the deaths. 4 monks died that morning. No illness at all. No wounds. No warning. He said they just stopped moving in the middle of their chores, like puppets with cut strings. They didn't fall gracefully, they just collapsed. I felt sick reading this. He washed their bodies himself. He said their skin was completely cold the very second they dropped. Whatever was holding them in that missing week, just let them go. Erase them from the equation. I had to verify it. I checked the Vatican registry for that specific monastery. Those 4 men are listed, but their death dates, they are all marked with the Latin phrase for date in doubt. The church didn't know when they died because they technically died on erased days. I stared at that registry for hours. How do you officially bury a man who died on a day that never existed? The church knew. They knew the transition wasn't just mathematical. I tried to get more context. I requested access to the Vatican Archives for that region in 1582. I mean, I have the academic credentials, but my request was denied instantly. The automated letter said the original records for that entire period are physically unstable and unavailable for viewing. Physically unstable. That's archive speak for you will never see this. They aren't hiding a simple math error. They are hiding whatever happened while the clock was stopped, while they were watching us. After I published a small paper on the journal's handwriting, people came, not police, just to men in plain suits. They came to my office. They didn't threaten me. They had me sign a non-disclosure agreement citing national security. I asked how a 400-year-old diary relates to modern national security. One of them just looked at my window. He pointed up and said, "The sky hasn't changed." I couldn't breathe. They took the original journal and walked out. Before they took it, I made scans. I didn't tell them that, but there's one thing I still can't figure out. On the margin of the very last entry, October 14th, right before the calendar resumed, he scribbled a number. 47. He didn't explain it. Eddie wasn't a page number. Eddie wasn't a scripture reference. Eddie was just 47. And the page after that, the 15th, it was torn out cleanly, like whatever happened when time started again was worse than the darkness.
The following is recovered from a heavily damaged 1994 interview tape. In 1582, the calendar changed. 10 days were officially deleted to fix the math, but someone kept a diary during those days that did not exist. They recorded things in the sky. What happens when time itself is redacted?